Story 1, The Dorm in the Woods. When I was 17, my parents sent me to a private prep school in upstate New York. It wasn't one of those elite Ivy feeder schools, more like a strict Catholic-run academy where discipline mattered more than test scores. The campus was surrounded by woods, and the dorms were old brick buildings that had been standing since the 1940s. I was assigned to the top floor of a boys' dorm with my roommate, Ethan. The first night, everything felt fine. The usual chatter of kids away from home, sneaking snacks, complaining about the food. But by the second night, strange things started happening. Around 1:30 a.m., I was lying in bed half asleep when I heard the heavy slam of a door down the hall. That wasn't unusual. Guys were always sneaking out after curfew. But then I heard slow footsteps. Not the casual kind, but a steady, dragging walk, like boots scraping the floor. They stopped right outside our room. Ethan sat up, wide-eyed. "You hear that?" he whispered. Before I could answer, the doorknob rattled. Hard. Someone was trying to get in. Ethan leapt out of bed and twisted the lock tighter, even though we both knew the old metal latch wouldn't hold if someone forced it. Then came the whisper. A man's voice, low and raspy, right outside the door. "Open up. Boys." I felt my stomach drop. It wasn't any of the guys in our hall. The voice sounded too old, too deliberate. Ethan and I froze, neither of us daring to breathe. After a long silence, the footsteps moved away. We didn't sleep that night. The next morning, we asked around, but none of the other students had been up, and the dorm supervisor swore no staff had checked our floor. Things escalated after that. Some nights, we'd hear the sound of someone running through the halls, but when we opened the door, the corridor was empty. One night, Ethan swore he saw a shadow standing in the middle of our room when he woke up, but when he blinked, it was gone. The worst moment came a week before Christmas break. I was alone in the room, packing my bag, when I glanced at the window. There in the reflection, I saw a tall figure standing behind me, a man in a long, dark coat, with his head tilted slightly, watching. When I spun around, no one was there. That night, Ethan and I begged to be moved to another dorm. The headmaster finally relented and put us on the first floor. We never heard the footsteps again. But here's the thing, a few months later, I overheard one of the maintenance guys talking. He mentioned that, back in the 1960s, a groundskeeper had hung himself in the attic above our old dorm floor. Apparently, other students had reported seeing him over the years. I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but I still remember that whisper outside our door. "Open up. Boys." Story 2, The Drive-In Stranger. Back when I was in high school in Ohio, Friday nights usually meant one of two things: football games, or hanging out at the old drive-in movie theater just outside of town. One summer night, a group of us decided to go see a late showing. It was me, my best friend Tyler, my cousin Brooke, and a couple other friends crammed into my old Honda. The drive-in was half empty, which was weird for a warm July night, but we didn't think much of it. Halfway through the movie, Brooke nudged me. "Do you see that guy?" she whispered. At first, I thought she meant someone sneaking between cars to get a better view. But then I spotted him, a tall figure standing perfectly still near the tree line at the edge of the lot. Not moving, not watching the screen, just staring in the direction of the cars. Tyler laughed it off. Probably some drunk looking for the bathrooms. But as the movie went on, the figure never moved. Not once. By the time the credits rolled, most of the other cars had cleared out. When I started my engine, my headlights swept across the tree line. The man was gone. We pulled out of the lot and started heading back toward town. That's when Brooke gasped. Behind us. I checked the mirror. A pair of headlights had appeared out of nowhere, following close. At first, I figured it was just another car leaving the theater. But the way it tailed us, staying just a few feet behind no matter how fast I went, made my skin crawl. I turned down a side road. So did the car. I took another turn, sharp this time. The headlights followed. "Don't go home," Tyler muttered. He'll know where you live. Finally, I gunned it down a back road that led to a gas station. The car stayed right on us until we pulled under the bright fluorescent lights of the station. That's when it slowed, turned around, and drove back into the dark without stopping. The next day, we went back to the drive-in to see if maybe someone had been messing with us. I asked the manager about it, describing the tall man we'd seen. His face went pale. "You kids shouldn't joke about that," he said quietly. "We had a security guard here years ago who died in an accident on that back road. Tall guy always stood by the trees during shifts." We didn't know what to say. But after that night, none of us ever went back to that theater again. Story 3, The Lake House Jester. My family isn't the type to vacation often. We're big on backyard barbecues and small gatherings, not road trips. So when my Aunt Karen suggested a family getaway on Lake Michigan, everyone was excited. My cousin Jenna found this massive airbnb that could fit all 18 of us, uncles, aunts, cousins, and grandparents. It was a gorgeous place, sitting right on the shoreline with big windows facing the water. Because there were so many of us, a few cousins and I had to stay in the detached garage apartment behind the main house. It looked nice on the listing, but in person it felt off. The place smelled damp, the bathroom had old carpet, and the only lock on the door was a tiny sliding latch. My cousin Rachel flat out refused to sleep on the beds until we washed the sheets. So I ended up running laundry until almost 3 a.m., hauling clean bedding upstairs while everyone else tried to get comfortable. We finally remade the beds, left a lamp on, and settled in. But I couldn't sleep. Around 3:15, a loud thud shook the garage door. I sat up, heart pounding, but my cousins didn't stir. Then 20 minutes later, it happened again, a violent slam against the metal. This time Rachel woke up, pale as a ghost. "That's not the wind," she whispered. We huddled together, frozen, until finally we texted my uncle in the main house. Within minutes, he and a couple older cousins showed up. "Grab your stuff," my uncle said firmly. "You're not staying out here tonight." As we filed out, he pulled me aside. His voice was low. "I saw someone out here," he said. "Tall guy, just standing behind the garage." When I called out, he didn't answer. Just turned and walked into the woods. My uncle swore he hadn't heard a single footstep. No crunch of gravel, no snapping twigs, just silence. That was bad enough, but when we looked closer, we found 2 playing cards propped against the garage door. Both were jesters. That night we crammed into the main house, sleeping on couches, floors, anywhere we could. But around 4 a.m., my mom, who was sleeping on the sofa near the front windows, heard footsteps on the porch. Slow, heavy, deliberate. She kept her eyes shut, terrified she'd see someone staring in. Then came the sound of the basement door handle rattling. When she finally got my dad awake and they checked, the porch was empty. No footprints in the dew, no sign of anyone. The next morning, nobody even discussed staying. We packed everything and left a full day early. I've stayed at airbnbs since, but I'll never book a property with a detached garage again.